I imagine your feelings must, as an English woman, be hurt at the idea of slavery in a free country. Yet to me it is our Negroes are happier, better fed, and clothed than the peasantry of most countries of Europe. John de Butts.
North American slavery predates the very existence of Maryland statehood. Enslaved persons were forced to work in this vicinity nearly 150 years before the American Revolution. For those with wealth, forcing others to do all the work and receive little to no pay seemed ideal. To modern-day audiences, slavery is a most unpleasant and uncomfortable topic, but its tragic existence remains a crucial part of Maryland and national history. In 1790, 52% of the people in Prince George's County were enslaved individuals. This land had enslaved workers in the 1700s. When Samuel and Mary de Butts purchased this land, they soon brought enslaved workers onto this land as well, continuing its tragic pattern of injustice. Most enslaved individuals worked the fields, while a select few worked in the main house. These human beings were considered property, no different than a plow or a horse. They were a tool to do work, nothing more in the eyes of those who held them. They could be given away as family heirlooms.
I give and bequeath to my son John Henry de Butts all my slaves, stock, farming utensils, furniture, linens, and books.
Enslaved people were counted as inventory on lists of supplies with given values.
One set of window curtains, $4.80. One dining room carpet, $15. One rocking chair, 63 cents. Edward, $350. Hamilton, 24 years to serve, $150. Minta, $150. Mary and 3 children, $450. Rachel and 2 children, $300. Patsy and Matilda, $350. Julia, $62.50. Eliza and baby, $250. One iron pot, $2.
The law considered the enslaved to be personal property, and as such they were often as valuable as the land itself. The same constitutional rights that were used to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness did not apply to all peoples. Wealthy white men benefited most from these beliefs. Women too suffered. With few exceptions, the property of a woman became her husband's upon marriage. Women could neither vote nor hold office, even though equality appeared to exist in the Constitution. Freedom has been, and always will be, a matter of perspective.
No one who has always enjoyed the right of liberty can realize the horrors of slavery. To be at the will of another, to be owned like a cow or horse, and liable at any moment to be sold to the highest bidder, to be transported to a distant part of the country, leaving the dearest relatives behind, to be ground down mentally and physically by the untold curses of slavery, may be a very pretty thing to the masters of the peculiar institution, but it is death to the slaves.
Many enslaved people recognized the gross injustice of their situation. There were many ways to resist, but they all sought a common theme: freedom. Like Nat Turner, they could turn and fight, rallying their companions to turn the suffering onto their oppressors. Like Frederick Douglass, they could take their resistance to the masses through speeches, newspapers, and public opinion. Like Denmark Vesey, they could invoke a higher power for strength to emerge from the shattered lives in which they were bound. Others chose to just disappear and evade capture. An enslaved man kept on this land did just that.
$200 reward. Negro man, Jacob Shaw, age 35 years, rather dark complexion. His hair is inclined to be bushy, a small scar over his left eye, one tooth out, which will be discovered when he laughs. His height is about 5 feet 6 or 8 inches. He has a free brother in the city of Washington by the name of Sandy Shaw, whose free pass he has probably attained and will try to get to Pennsylvania or New York.
The unfortunate nature of slavery in America led to families often being split. When escaping, some chose to try and find their scattered family members, then seek freedom together.
$30 reward. Barbara B. Williams is about 50 years of age, 5 feet 7 or 8 inches high, slender built, stoops in her walk, black color, a little gray, and squints a little out of her right eye. She has relations living at Mr. Thomas E. Berry's Oxon Hill farm on the Potomac River.
Despite the heroic actions of many, enslaved individuals continued to comprise the majority of the labor force in Prince George's County for much of the 19th century. The District of Columbia abolished slavery in 1862, and the constitutional amendments following the Civil War abolished slavery nationwide, but this did not solve the problems of racial discrimination. Although slavery no longer existed by law, the social and economic fabric of the area was very different after the war. Many formerly enslaved people chose to move and find opportunities in new places, such as Baltimore. Some chose to stay and work the same land, but now for payment, meager as it may be. Compounding the tragedy of slavery is the lack of information that has been left to later generations. No first-person information about the lives of enslaved people here survives. Even their final resting places remain unknown. The location for the enslaved burial ground has been lost for now, but is in the vicinity of where you now stand. Oxon Cove's enslaved people share a voice unheard, but we must never allow them to be forgotten. Proceed now up the hill to the red hay barn at your next marker.